We're mixing things up today. As part of Unmasking the Magic, I have some guests that will be coming on to chat with you about their unique magic that unraveled for them and what that was like and how they use their abilities and they lean into the metaphysical to help improve their life and really kind of bring it from like that 7 out of 10 to like a 10 out of 10, because we can all kind of get very comfortable and complacent with that 7 out of 10 space. And nothing's really wrong when you're at a 7 out of 10. um you might look, everything might kind of stack up on paper even, but then you kind of don't feel, you have that feeling like something's missing. So, how do you get from that 7 out of 10 to a 10 to a 10? That's the whole purpose of having my guests on. So, you can start identifying like some magic within yourself to help you get to that 10 out of 10 in a really authentic way, depending on your unique abilities and your skill set, things you really like to do. And so, that's going to be really useful. So, today, though, we are going to be channeling, or I'm going to be doing some channeling and getting some answers to these questions I have prepared for my future guests about your magic and the metaphysical space and what that actually means. Like, what are the things that are metaphysical? Like, what does this mean? What's going on? What is she talking about? Get you some more information on that so that this podcast moving forward is going to be really, really useful for you and can be a source of like reference. So if you need information about something that's going on for you, then like I would really love that this is like the place that you kind of come to find all the answers about whether it's your life purpose, whether it's about your intuitive abilities, whether it's something going on for you, you're not quite sure what it is, you get stuck manifesting, you can manifest everything else, you can't manifest certain things, like whatever it is, like this is going to be your home of metaphysical knowledge to unmask your magic. Because the truth is, right, you are one ability away from making your life a whole lot easier and getting from that 7 out of 10 to a 10 out of 10. And once you layer on all of these different abilities and skills that you already have, a lot of them are innate. You have a lot of innate abilities to kind of get you there, to achieve things in life. And you do things instinctively. And you probably know this too. Like you've probably had like heaps of moments you can think of where you've manifested. And people can always think of, yeah, I manifest parking or something that they're not really attached to. They can manifest those things really easily, but then other things they can't. And so some people quickly come to the conclusion manifestation doesn't work, it's not true. But then others will go next level deeper and not settle for that. Like me, though I'm one of those people. I want what I want and I am going to manifest it no matter what. And there are different ways to do that. But to get from a 7 out of 10 in life to get to that 10 out of 10 is what we're going to be talking about today. And, my journey and how I've kind of done that for myself. And maybe this will be really inspiring for some of you and some of the guests that are coming on too. Like they're going to share their abilities and their gifts and their journey and what they're going through, and you might be able to relate to pieces of their story as well moving forward. Welcome to Unmasking the Magic, where the mystical meets the practical and fuels your success. I'm your host, Sharyn Atkinson, and I'll be your metaphysical maverick on this journey, where every week we'll pull back the curtain to reveal how concepts such as intuition, manifestation, and the quantum field, and pretty much everything else otherworldly, can help empower you to reach new levels of success, meaning, and fulfillment in business, career, and life. Get ready to be inspired, enlightened, and empowered, and let's unmask the magic together. This is going to be interesting. I've already got some technical problems going on as I open up, to connect to higher frequencies. It's been interesting getting to this point in the video. So I've got my coffee, which is now half finished. So I'll go and make a top up like at some stage. So that's cool. So the first question that I have prepared for my guests is, can you share a moment or experience that awakened your metaphysical gifts or led you to embrace a more spiritual aligned path in your business and personal life? Wow, that's a big question. Okay. So, like for me, I don't necessarily. Okay. Okay. So, I don't necessarily believe personally that we have an awakening, like we go through a spiritual awakening. I think, like in some ways we do, but I'm going to explain why I don't really think that that's the case. Well, definitely not for me. So, the reason I say that is because from a very young age, so from the age of 7, I could chat to the spirit world or interact with them in some way. I probably wasn't talking back to them actually for the first couple of years until I used to tell them to go away. But when I was about 9, so the first couple of years, I didn't really interact. And I used to get in trouble because I was scared of the dark and all that sort of stuff. So, but that was kind of always there. Like I've always been able to do that. Um, so dialoguing and speaking with the spiritual realm, like nothing really happened to awaken that I'm aware of. It just started to happen, and I would get really really scared. And so I've been able to do that, communicate with the worlds of spirit from a very young age. And I grew up believing our house was haunted. Like I didn't really understand that it was me. I just thought it was the house that we lived in. And because my parents were very, straight down the line type of people, very hardworking, working class family, and anything metaphysical was just called hocus pocus, or a load of hocus pocus mumbo jumbo type of stuff. That's the environment I grew up in. So for me, I just thought our house was haunted, and that was kind of that until I moved out of home and I had my I moved into my townhouse and I was the first person to live in this townhouse. Like bought it new and very supernatural things used to happen in my house. And I'm thinking that's when I probably first realized it's not the house, it's me. Like I can actually perceive a different kind of layer of energy. So it's not that necessarily when it comes to metaphysical gifts that there's an incident and a moment to help you awaken to them. It's probably more just realization. Well, it definitely was for me anyway. Realizing what's actually happening, um, and just changing perspectives and changing thoughts about what all these different things kind of mean. That's what I think that really means for me. But and as you kind of evolve, like it's more of an evolution. There's definitely moments that are very intense in all of our lives, and you feel like you are pushed to the absolute limit where you need to do something. You need to take some sort of action to make a decision about what you're going to do. And this is where I think people can feel like they're having that spiritual awakening. And I get that. Like I absolutely did. And like I went through a really traumatic situation with my sister, and we ended up in litigation. And I was very heavily into manifestation at the time, and cool stuff. I'd manifested amazing things in my life, and I accidentally manifested my husband when I wrote my second book. And I just want to actually say on this one thing, like when I say I manifested my husband, I didn't just, you know, imagine that I was married, right? That's not what happened. So when I say I manifested my husband, in my book, I wrote it under a pen name. And I made up this character. I made up this person in this book, and the character I made up in this book, his name, what his job was, the dynamics of his family, conversations that I had with him, really bizarre stuff. Like he used to have, I wrote in my book, he used to have a girlfriend who was a dancer that liked to bake for him. Really bizarre stuff. He liked chili. He was Italian. He had some favorite recipe that he had eaten, or that I can't remember now. It's either his nonna used to make for him or something that he ate in Italy. I think it's what his nonna used to make for him. I even read a conversation in this book about that we had gotten like engaged in my book, and I had written that one of the conversations we had was he was going to turn, well, he recommended that we turn like a spare room into a wardrobe for me because I had so much stuff, which that conversation actually happened. Like when I moved in with my um, husband, he said, we're going to have to turn the spare room into a wardrobe for you because you have so much stuff. And we went out and like just wall to wall. We bought 7 wardrobes and we put wall to wall wardrobes in this room so that I had enough closet space. And because in my townhouse, I had a wardrobe built for me to accommodate all of, work clothes, gym clothes, casual clothes, going out clothes, formal clothes, you name it. There was like this full range of clothes, all different occasions. I'm sure females understand what I'm talking about. But then there's all the shoes that go with this, and then the accessories and blah, blah, the list goes on. So, but my point is like these things played out verbatim in my life. Conversations, like the name that I chose for this character was exactly the same. So when I say like I was heavily into manifestation and this was a big part of my life, the fact that I manifested my husband accidentally. I had no intention. I didn't think that I was actually going to marry someone that I made up on paper. I didn't actually think that was going to happen. It was just an accident. And so, but that really sparked my curiosity, like what is going on here? Like how am I manifesting with this level of accuracy? How did all of this happen? And like I spent years like unpacking how I manifest to that level of accuracy and what I did. And manifestation was a huge part of my life. I live every day intentionally, what I want to create, the outcomes I want to see. And if something's not in alignment with that now, I approach things a little bit differently. But then I didn't really know that you could reshape things if things weren't going to happen. So, anyway, but manifestation, huge part of my life. And when I went through this traumatic situation with my sister and ended up in litigation, I knew that I had not manifested that intentionally. And I was so determined to figure out how this was even possible because I lived so intentionally every day with what I wanted to experience, what I want to achieve, and where my life is heading. Like that level of intention, not just, kind of half assing it every day, but pardon the French, but very, very precise and knowing what I want and not accepting anything else. So when this situation with my sister happened, it didn't make any sense. And I was freaking out. How is this possible? Maybe manifestation is a load of, fooey. I don't believe it. And maybe I'm wrong. Like, they're all the things that went through my mind, even though I manifested some amazing stuff. Prior to that, I really doubted that it was real. And that's when, like, if you think of the word like awakening, so this experience combined with my sheer determination to not accept it. So, yes, like it felt like everything was like falling down around me, lightning speed, like a train wreck. things went south very, very quickly, like for my business, for my relationship, very, very quickly in fast succession. And I just felt like there's nothing I can do to stop this. This is like a freight train of destruction going on. What is happening in my life, right? And so, in some ways, like, yeah, it was an awakening, but it's an awakening because I had this sheer determination that I don't accept this. Like, whatever's going on, I'm going to figure it out and I'm going to sort it out and I'm going to reclaim my power and my life and do things and live how I want to live, because I'm not going through litigation for 2 years. That is not an option. I'm not investing that much time and effort into litigation. No way in the world. No, thank you. So, however I created this, I am going to fix it. And so that's what I did, right? And I was guided, because I had this spiritual connection already. I was guided to do energy work. And if I'm really honest, like, I did not like energy healing at all. And I can kind of say this now. And I know a lot of energy healers, if you're listening to this, are going to cringe, especially if you're a Reiki master. But because I'm a Reiki master now too, I kind of feel like I can say this, and I'm going to say it anyway. So don't be offended. This is, this is my perspective going into sorting out my derailed manifestation. Look at it that way. So my perspective on energy work was it does absolutely nothing. And that was based on my experience with Reiki at the time. And I had seen because I wanted to know what Reiki was about. I'm a curious person. I wanted to know what it was all about. And I thought, okay, I don't get it. No one could really explain to me what it was supposed to do. It's going to balance my chakras. That's about as much as I got out of it. And I'm thinking, yeah, and well, what does that mean? What's that supposed to do? How's that going to make my life better? And I thought, I just need to experience it. And, if I'm going to try it, I don't think I'm going to get anything out of one session. So I'm going to give it like a proper go and see what happens. And I saw a Reiki master on a fortnightly basis for 6 months. And I experienced absolutely no change and no benefit in my life whatsoever. And like, I get that sometimes it can be the practitioner, it can be something else. So when I first went through this litigation process, I went and saw a different Reiki master. And I had 3 sessions with her. And again, it made absolutely no difference. So when I was guided to do energy work to clear all of my limiting beliefs, to get a different outcome, to manifest something different in my life, I was so skeptical. Like, you can imagine, right? I've had Reiki experiences before. I've seen Reiki masters before, and I've had no benefit from it. But I'm still being guided to do some energy work to clear limiting beliefs. And so I'm thinking, okay. And then as I sort of started to kind of research this, like, Reiki is a beautiful energy system. It's very relaxing and it helps work and on your energy body, like, really nicely. But Reiki is not designed for clearing limiting beliefs. It's just not. And you can kind of argue to that if you want to as a Reiki master, but it's not. So, like, there's a different kind of skill set that goes with working with the subconscious mind and being able to do that type of work. Um, so there are, like, limiting beliefs in your subconscious. You have other types of blockages within your field, because you're such a vast energetic being. Like, yes, you have this physical body and some other stuff, and you store energy in places, and it gets stuck, which is why people do acupuncture to free up blocked energy that's stuck in their body and open up those pathways. So, yes, that's a thing, but there's also the electromagnetic field around you that stores information in your field that impacts so many different things. Like, it's really cool. Anyway, so it's very intricate. So that's the work that I started to do, that I was guided to do specifically. And like, I really loved it. And for the first 30 days, though, I didn't notice any difference either. I'm thinking, yeah, this is going to be like a Reiki experience for me. And it really wasn't. So the first 30 days, I didn't notice any change. But then what was really cool was change started to happen really, really fast. This litigation, boom, I started to get a bit of traction, and then I just dug my heels in and I started clearing. Like, I manifested the tiniest incremental progression throughout this whole experience, one step forward at a time. And I just built momentum and I built up confidence and I cleared everything, everything in my way across all time, dimension, space, reality, past life karma, my family lineage, you name it, it came out. And I worked on myself relentlessly every day because I wanted to resolve this situation. And I did. Within 3 months, it was resolved. We had outcomes drawn up, and that was it. We're not going to court. Nothing horrendous is happening. I don't have 2 years of legal fees that I need to worry about. We're done. This is the agreement, and that's it. Wrap this up. That's how it played out for me, and I was really so excited. And then what I noticed was, like, all this other stuff kind of, like, manifestation got a lot easier because my vibration was higher since I had cleared all of these, well, not all, but like a large chunk of limiting beliefs that I had at the time that created this situation in the first place. So without that I suppose, like, collective of energetic blocks that were in my field, without them, I was all of a sudden a lot happier and relieved too, obviously. But I was all of a sudden a lot happier, and I just kept doing it. I didn't stop. So once that litigation was resolved, I wanted to see what else I could do. What else is possible, like, by doing this type of work? And I just kept playing. And it was so cool. And I followed my guidance more. And that kind of led me, like, 2019, to start my own business. I already had my own business as a finance broker and a business coach, but I was guided to shut it down because I had a bad feeling. And I really did. 2019. Oh, I had such a bad feeling. And I remember saying to my husband, I don't know what's going to happen. Something bad is coming. And I feel like if I write another loan for someone, that I'm setting people up to lose everything. And I don't want to do it. I don't know what's going on, but I can't shake this feeling. And I said to my husband, you know what? I'm going to go do an energy healing course so I learn how to work with people and do this type of work on them. And I'm just going to start an energy healing business. And it didn't make any sense to my husband. He's like, okay, you do what you got to do. Like, all right then. And so I did. And, going into 2020, we're in a pandemic. I'm asking my guides and my higher self, like, I don't think that this is a great time to be starting a business. Like, supposedly we're going into a pandemic. Like, I don't think this is great timing. And I just got back, do it anyway. I'm like, okay, I've got to do it anyway, whatever. And I just go with the flow. And, like, I trust what I'm being guided to do. And sometimes you need a bit of evidence and a bit of history to get to that stage. Right. But that's when I started my energy healing business in 2020. And it's evolved a lot since then. But so is there, like, a moment of awakening? No, I don't think there is. I think it's a progression. And if you're paying attention and you can really stand firm in, like, what you want to achieve for yourself, what you want your life to be like, and not accept less than that, that is so powerful because you're being guided in a way that you don't really understand. You can't logically make sense of. And, people will often say, and I agree with this, that, sometimes things can go a little bit wrong in our life and we ignore them, we don't pay attention, we don't want to rock the boat maybe, or things seem too hard to change. And so we don't do anything about it. But all those things that kind of don't go right in our life, it's like a little nudge for you to clear some stuff up. So things go bad so that you can notice that there's something not quite right in your field and you can clear it up. But when you don't pay attention to that, things get a lot worse so that you start to notice. So that's where you have like recurring drama. And did I have recurring drama with my sister? Absolutely. You know, the sibling rivalry thing was there, so many different things. And I just didn't want to rock the boat. I don't want to rock the boat. I'm not saying anything. And so your soul, or our soul, my soul, will kind of amplify the things that aren't quite right in your life to make it more obvious to you. It's a very kind process. Okay, like you haven't got the message yet. So I didn't get the message that I had a blockage in my field and something was causing me like to be in a lower vibration when it came to my sister. I obviously didn't get that memo. I just kept ignoring it, like I don't want to rock the boat. I've got, nieces and nephews, all that sort of stuff. Um, I don't want to rock the boat. I'm not saying anything. And my soul took that as, you're not paying attention. Let me just turn the volume up on this drama a little bit for you so that you get the message that you've got some stuff you need to sort out here. And that's what happens, like with recurring drama in any of our lives. Until you pay attention, like the drama is going to continue to play out because you allow it to. And until you do something about it, it's not going anywhere. And it will get worse until you make that call to take action and go, you know what? I'm not allowing this anymore in my life. And whatever I need to clear in my field or across my karmic, you know, history, I'm going to do it. I'm all in. I'm up for this. And because I want my life to be different until you kind of get to that point and do something about it, things don't change. So, but that can really feel like an awakening process. And like, I didn't even know what a spiritual awakening was when I was going through this. I didn't know that I was going through a dark night of the soul experience. But they're not isolated either. Like, if you do this work properly, it's more like a progression. And the more you kind of stay in the energy of creating and listening to what it is that you want to do and what it is that you want to achieve, to be at that 10 out of 10 in your life, because you don't accept less for yourself, because that's what you want to achieve, then it kind of moves you forward. I've got some chills going on. I can feel chills. I'm a bit distracted. But that's what I kind of live by. I live by what I want, and I don't accept anything that's in my way. I won't accept anything less than what I want and how I want my life to be. Because I want to walk around like I feel like the sunshine, you know? Like I want to walk around and walk into a room like the sun has arrived. I don't know. That's just how I kind of see it. And I did actually work with someone once, and he told our boss at the time that when I get to work, it's like, the sunshine walks in, something like that. I light the room up. And I said, oh, I was so embarrassed. I thought, why did you say that? Like, it sounds like you're in love. Don't tell our boss that. Like, come on. Anyway, but that's the feeling I really like. That's the energy I want to live in. So anything that's not a match for that can, go and transmute itself for all I'm concerned. Like, I'm not interested. And I will do whatever I need to. I will pull together all of my metaphysical resources and I will hustle. I will channel what I need to channel, ask for some guidance, leverage my guides, find where these blockages are in or on or around my body. Somewhere in my soul history, something is messing things up, and I will track it down and I will clear it any way, shape I can. If that means I need to learn something new, then I'm all in. It doesn't really worry me. Like, it's a progression. And where I am now and what I know now is fantastic, and I know I can help a lot of people. But this isn't a process of evolving rather than arriving somewhere. So you never really arrive. If you never have any goals or any objectives in life, then you might stay like really complacent and like just content, not complacent. That's probably not a good way to describe it. Content. You might just be really content with whatever you have, and like that's enough for you, and that's perfect. Like if you're not aiming for something higher, then don't. Like it's not for everybody. Um, but at some point, you might want to change things for yourself. And having a whole bunch of different resources that you can, like a toolkit of metaphysical skills and abilities that you can kind of sort through and go, I see what's going on here. I can see why I put on weight all the time. I can see why it's so hard for me to stop smoking or whatever it is. I can see that energy pattern. I'm going to clear it now. So once you've got all those tools and resources available to you, then it becomes a lot easier to envision, design, and create what you want your world to be like, and just alchemize a path to it. Really like blow up anything that's in your way to get you the outcomes that you want to see in your life. Because why do you have to settle for less? Are you supposed to do that? Like, I'm not happy with that. I don't want to settle for anything. And even as like a single woman in my mid 30s, when I wrote my first book, like I didn't want to settle for anyone, and I was never no, like doesn't appeal to me. I don't want to settle for just anyone. I want, someone anyway, someone who's perfect for me, let me put it that way. So which turned out to be the person I invented in my book. Anyway, very funny. But that's how I am. And for me, it's like this internal force. It is very strong, and I will continue to follow it and go through this process of evolving and expansion into more of who I am. Because the more I aim for and stay focused on what I want to achieve and what I want my life to look like, the more stuff comes up. Like there are more things in the way, more obstacles in the way. And sometimes you can feel like you're going through like this continuous dark night of the soul experience, like depending on what it is. But I know the outcome and I know the benefits of doing that work. And I think if you've been through dark night of the soul once, and if you're not familiar with what that means, basically is you're confronted like with a really traumatic situation, and you're confronted with a lot of like heavy emotions, negative thought forms, whatever it is going on for you, and you feel like you're in a really dark place. Um, that's definitely how I felt. But you can find your way out of it. And it's not about indulging in those feelings. It's about acknowledging them and deciding that, I see what's going on here and it's not for me. And I am going to get rid of all the reasons why these feelings are in place in the first place. Clear that, clear the waveforms that these create in my field, and deliberately create what I want in my life. That's how I live by. And sometimes it's a bit slower than other times, but that's okay. It depends on what your goals are, really, and how good you are at identifying what's blocking that, which can be a bit of a skill too. So there you go. I need to make a new coffee. My coffee's cold. It's very sunny in my office at the moment. So one of the things that I notice, other than the sunshine, is I've moved around quite a little bit. Let me just move this a bit like that. Okay. So next question. What was a pivotal challenge or obstacle you faced, and how did using your metaphysical gifts or spiritual practices help you overcome it? These are amazing questions I have for our future guests. Okay. So what I noticed for me is that really central to everything I explore and uncover and discover about myself is that I'm guided to do things. And I trust my intuition implicitly. And like that is one skill that I will continue to develop for probably the rest of my life, to be honest. And like I first started paying attention to my intuition when I was on a date. Like I'd had, those feelings before about what I probably should or shouldn't be doing. But when I was on a date once, we had, where were we? We went to a bar. That's right. We went to a bar. And um, I just had a bad feeling. Bad feeling. And we literally like went to the bar, ordered a drink, sat down, and I said to him, we need to leave. As soon as we got there, we got drinks, sat down, and then here's me coming up with, we need to leave now. And it's like I knew like how this is gonna like sound to him, look to him, all that sort of stuff. That's cool. Didn't really worry me too much. And because I had this such a feeling, like when I say feeling, like a force, like a driving kind of force within me, like you need to move, like you can't stay here. And it wasn't an option. Like I didn't feel like I was going to do anything else other than get out of that bar. And I'm like, you need to leave too. Like, sorry, I don't know what's going on, but I feel like I literally said to him, I feel like 10 people are going to get stabbed or something. Like, we need to leave. And we did. And then the next day on the radio, I learnt that 3 Molotov cocktails had been thrown into that bar within 10 minutes of us leaving. And I was like, wow. So like since then, I don't really doubt my intuition, but I wanted to do it more on purpose, like that was so like such a crucial moment. Like I want to do this all the time. How do I do that? And so that's one skill like I really trust. And sometimes that feeling is really, really strong. Like it was at the end in 2019 when I was guided to like shut down my finance broker and business coaching business. Like that was a really strong feeling, like something bad is going to happen. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to listen. I don't understand it, but I know that it's going to take me to a good place. So that is one skill that I'll continue to develop. And I'm actually developing it at the moment because I noticed that with my clairaudience, I shut that off in my 30s because I found it irritating. So I shut it off. So I'm actually in the process of turning that back on. And it was irritating for me because I remember I was in business banking, I was putting together a loan for somebody, and when you're putting together a loan for someone, like in the business world, there's a lot of like profit and loss and balance sheets, and there can be a really complex scenario if there's trust and everything involved as well. And I'm trying to concentrate, trying to find all the hidden income that his accountant has very cleverly hidden so that he doesn't get taxed. So I'm trying to find it so that he can service this loan. And all I can hear is like this like background noise of like a room full of people talking all over the top of each other. Nothing really made any sense. I couldn't distinguish like one voice from the next, just like murmuring, a lot of talking over the top of each other. And I just said, you need to be quiet. Like, I've got things to do. I want to go home at some point today. I'm not in the mood for this. And I actually spoke with a lady who might have been a psychic, I'm not sure, and she gave me some advice, which was to um, give the worlds of spirit some very clear instructions so that they could only speak with me during certain time frame. Or when the deal was I would light a tea light candle if I was in the mood to talk to them, and that was their window of opportunity. If you got something to say, you want to have a chat, this is when I'm available. But I've never honoured that. So I'm just going to get rid of it. I'm going to get rid of that agreement that I put in place, I think. And yeah, let's just open it up and let's see kind of what happens. Because it's such a powerful, like intuition and all that sort of stuff is so beneficial in a lot of ways. So that's what I'm in the process of doing. And I know it's going to continue to help me forever and ever. And then, okay, let me see. Next question. Practical application. How do you integrate your metaphysical knowledge or spiritual practice into your daily business operations or decision-making process? So, okay, so what I do is you might be familiar, if you're familiar with Abraham Hicks and Esther Hicks, she talks about segment intending. That's in their book, The Law of Attraction. And they talk about segment intending. And I do that all the time. I segment intend everything. That I want things to be finished by a certain time. And so I do that. But now I've got this other layer on top of it, which is an energetic component to help me facilitate the outcomes. So segment intending, I can get like a specific, like wrap things up by a certain amount of time. Like that's usually how that happens. But in the energetic, like if you combine energetics with that, then things like adding feelings into things, impact, and like what's going to happen as a flow-on effect of like what you're doing right now. So if you're creating something like a podcast, for example, like you can energetically weave in a lot of intention to that. So yes, you want to finish it by a certain amount of time, but there's also like there's an impact you want to have as a result of doing something. So you can kind of build that in when you're doing something energetically. So, but I don't do that all like for everything. So I probably should do more of that too. That's a very good reminder for myself. Okay, so question number 4. What is one core belief or principle that guides you in both your personal life and business, and how has it shaped your journey? So, wow, I thought of good questions to ask my guests just quietly. So good. Like, you really actually need to think about, what's important to you and things that you do on like a regular basis that have really helped shape your life. And I think, like with many people, you don't often kind of reflect to that sort of degree. You just kind of evolve over time. You don't really take a moment to do that. So I really like these questions that I've come up with for my guests. So, okay. For me, like a core belief that I have is your beliefs shape your reality. And I know like 100% you've heard of this as well. Your beliefs shape your reality or create your reality. And what you think about, you bring about, all that sort of stuff. But like, to what extent do you actually believe that that's true? Like, if you believe that, to what extent do you believe that that's true? And the reason I say that is because I had heard this before too. Like, yeah, beliefs shape your reality. And I was a little bit like, yeah, okay, that's like nice. And you can see in some examples how it's true, but it can be really difficult to relate to because your beliefs are largely in your subconscious mind, and we don't know what's in there. Let's be realistic about this. We don't know what's in our subconscious mind because it's in our subconscious. We have no conscious awareness of what's in there, so we can't really confirm either way. Makes it challenging, right? So, like, I just thought it made sense. Like, it's a nice concept, all this other stuff. But then in 2020, when I was guided to start my own energy healing business in the middle of a pandemic, I had some bizarre things happen. Well, not bizarre, but I was guided to test this belief out. And this all came about because, and I'm sure you can relate to this as well, um, it happened everywhere around the world, but Melbourne kind of kick-started this, I don't know if you want to call it a trend, this panic buying trend where all of the toilet paper disappeared. And then it kind of had this flow-on effect to everything else, like all the other staple items in the supermarket. It's just ridiculous. But it started with the toilet paper. And I learned a lot from toilet paper in 2020 because I remember thinking that initially, like, where am I going to get toilet paper from? And I asked my guides, and I got given the location and a time to go to a supermarket that I'd never been to in my life. And so I went there, got what I needed, and then I was really annoyed, right? Because I was just thinking, like, I shouldn't need divine intervention to buy toilet paper. Like, it seemed so ridiculous. And like, I'm sure my guides have better things to do than help me with my grocery shopping. Do you know what I mean? Like, it seems kind of ridiculous that I need to go to that extent to buy staple items for my house. So I kept being guided to this concept, this one concept, that your beliefs shape your reality. I'm like, okay. And I just decided that I was going to get rid of all of the reasons why I thought it was going to be difficult for me to buy toilet paper in the first place. Because throughout my life, every time I've been to the supermarket, I've been able to buy toilet paper. So the only thing that was telling me that this was any different was what I was seeing on the news, what people were telling me. And I just thought, okay, I'm going to test this out. If this concept is true, that our beliefs shape our reality, then I should be able to buy toilet paper whenever I need it, no problem. So I created a belief for myself, which was I can buy whatever I want, even when the shelves are empty. And it sounds like an absolute contradiction, like, how can you buy anything you want when the shelves are empty? And I thought, well, if this is what's happening in Melbourne right now, there's nothing on the shelves, because I've been there, I've seen it. There's nothing on the shelves. I want to be able to walk in to a supermarket with my shopping list, like I've always done, like I've done 1,000 times before, and buy everything on my list. If our beliefs shape our reality, that's what I want to happen. And you know what? I well, I didn't really think it would work, like, yes, I'm good at clearing beliefs and that sort of stuff, but I didn't really think that this was going to work to the extent that it did. And it was so bizarre. Like, I had so many serendipitous shopping moments in 2020 and a little bit in 2021, because that kind of overflowed a little bit in Melbourne with the panic buying situation. But like, I could go, I went to the supermarket once and I had olive oil on my list, and I walked down the aisle where the olive oil usually was, and the whole aisle looked empty. Like, you couldn't see anything. And I thought, wow, that's not true, because I've written it on my shopping list and I can buy whatever I want, even if the shelves are empty. So I just headed right to the center of the aisle where the olive oil usually was. And it was so surreal, surreal. On the shelf, right at the back, pushed up against the back of the shelf, was one bottle of olive oil, the exact brand that I use, sitting there by itself, waiting for me. And this happened all the time. There would be all sorts of things missing from the supermarket, and I would go and there'd be like exactly what I wanted, the brands I normally buy, on the shelf for me, because it was on my shopping list. And I was talking to our neighbor one day, and I don't know if you know, but in Melbourne, one of the other unusual things we had during 2020 was a 5 kilometre travel restriction. So we could only go within 5 kilometres of our home address to go anywhere. And we had 5 kilometres is maybe like 2 miles or 2.5 miles, something like that. So we're going to the same supermarket. My neighbour was really frustrated that she couldn't buy anything. She went to the supermarket, she tried to get pasta, can't get pasta, no flour, no toilet paper, no air freshener. Like, these are the things that she wanted to go get, but there was nothing, zero. So I offered to go buy these things for her, and she got so angry with me, like just out of frustration, because she'd been venting for like I reckon a good 5-10 minutes about how frustrating it is, can't buy anything. And when I offered to go and buy them for her, her reaction was like I had just not heard a word she had said, and she got really annoyed. And she's her reaction was, "Okay, Sharyn, whatever. Where are you going? What supermarket are you going to?" And I said, "The one around the corner." Like, we don't have a lot of options. We're in a 5 kilometer, travel restriction, which was another belief that had to be rewired as well, by the way. But on the supermarket front, very funny. And she's just rolling her eyes. Like, I just went there and they don't have anything. I just told you. I'm like, yeah, I know, but I'm going tomorrow and I'll pick some stuff up for you. And she's rolling her eyes. She's like, "Oh, all right, whatever. I got to go. Like, I got better things to do than chat to you in the driveway about all this imaginary stuff you're going to get from the supermarket that has no stock." I'm like, okay, see you later. And I couldn't buy into that conversation. Like, I sympathize with her. Like, I see how frustrated you are, but like, don't worry, I'll go get it for you. And she was so annoyed. Like, she could not believe that this was even possible. Like, I'm some sort of lunatic, and which is fair enough because everyone in Melbourne was having that experience, except for me. That's what it felt like anyway. I'm sure other people had no dramas, but I'm not aware of who they are. So the next day, I had to go and buy a birthday card for someone, and I don't usually go to the supermarket on a Saturday. That's not one of my favorite things to do, or any day for that matter, but especially a Saturday, especially, at midday. That's like, I don't know, some crazy type of peak hour in the supermarket. I'm not a fan. And so, anyway, as I was driving to the supermarket, I'm thinking, oh, like maybe I've gotten a little bit too cocky. Maybe this isn't going to pan out. And I thought, okay, I'm just going to, all the reasons why I think now all of a sudden, like my lucky streak is coming to an end. I'm going to delete all those reasons, all the reasons why, like, so I'm clearing all of these like doubts and things coming up for me on my way to the supermarket within our 5 kilometer radius. And it's probably like a 5 minute drive. It's not even far. I'm walking to the supermarket and I get there and I can't see anyone with toilet paper in their trolley. And I'm thinking, okay, so far it's not looking good. There's no one walking around with it, which is what you would normally kind of see. So I'm like, okay. So I had to clear all those beliefs too. Like, no, this is my belief, my belief. And I just kept reaffirming. I can buy whatever I want, even if the shelves are empty. And I headed straight to the toilet paper aisle in the supermarket. And as I turned into it, like I could see, like there's nothing there. And I'm like, no, because every time I go shopping, I can buy whatever I want. And today I'm buying toilet paper. And I got about halfway down, and then from the opposite end, a staff member wheeled in a pallet full of toilet paper and like ripped off like the wrapping on this pallet and handed me the first packet of toilet paper. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I was blowing myself away. Like this stuff really works. And then I went and picked her up some pasta. So I don't know what type of pasta she wants. So I'm just going to, guess. And got her pasta, toilet paper, air freshener. And I can't remember if I bought her flour. I don't think I did. Maybe I forgot. Anyway, but anything that she mentioned when we were talking in the driveway, I picked up for her. And I thought I'm not gonna make it a big deal out of this. I'm just gonna leave it on her doorstep and sneak away quietly. Like, the supermarket fairy godmother type of scenario. So she was in the driveway and so I'm like, oh, here you go. Like went to the supermarket. Isn't that what you were after? Like she's like, oh my God. And the look on her face was just disbelief. Like, and she said again, like, where did you go? I said, around the corner. And she just didn't believe me because she went there the day before and you know the story. So 2020, like I applied that same principle to everything. And I really tested that concept that our beliefs create our reality. And I know wholeheartedly that it's true. Even it doesn't matter what you believe. And like with my neighbor, her belief was she can't buy anything when she goes to the supermarket. And that proved true for her. Whereas my belief's completely opposite and it proved true for me. So whatever's going on, whatever stories you decide to buy into is what's going to play out in your life. And we just don't give it like conscious attention to this stuff. Like we see it's so easy to do though. Like, I'm not having a go at anyone because I've done it before myself, but you see things happening on the news and then you speak to everyone that you know and you see it on social media. Everyone's frustrated because something's happening, like they can't buy toilet paper or whatever it is. There's a common experience that everyone seems to have. And we don't really think about what that means for us if we decide to buy into that story and make it true for us and create a belief out of it. And it's true that the majority of our beliefs, like 80% of our beliefs, are formed before the age of 7 years old. Like that's true. And as such a young kid, like you have distortions about how the world works and all that sort of stuff. You've got limited life experience when you're that young. But they're your formative years, and you're just like a sponge, and you make so many decisions really, really fast, whether they're accurate or not. And they're in your subconscious mind, like largely. But we don't stop creating beliefs after that. We create beliefs all the time. And it's just the bulk of them kind of happen at a very young age. And that kind of dictates to you like what your relationships will be like, a whole range of stuff, your career, how hard you have to work, all that sort of exciting stuff. But so if we give what we want to believe and what we buy into as adults, if we give that more attention, then we have a lot more control because like we know what we're doing now. Well, I like to think, like when it comes to creating beliefs, I think we've got a bit more control. And I would love to see people do that. I would love to see people create beliefs like the ones that I did that even sound obscure and make absolutely no sense, but make sense to me. Because I wanted to go and buy whatever I wanted to in the middle of a pandemic when there was no stock in the supermarket. So I just created a belief. And I thought if this concept is true, then this will work. If this concept is not true, then it's not going to work. And that's how I kind of roll. Like I don't teach people anything and I don't do anything that I haven't experienced for myself and proven to be true for me. And having such an obscure belief like that one is just amazing. And there's actually another really cool one I have that involves shopping too. And I created this one accidentally in my 20s. So I've had that for over 2 decades now. And, oh no, probably not, no, probably over 2 decades. Okay, wow. So there's the other belief that I have that I created accidentally was, but it's such good framework. This is why I like it. Um, every time I go shopping, I get something for free. That's the belief I created in my 20s. And that plays out till now. And I've got so much evidence to back this up that this is true for me that I know I can talk about this belief. And then the next time I go shopping, it will happen because I'm kind of reminding myself that this belief is there. And that happens with, all sorts of things and big ticket item purchases to trips to the supermarket, whatever it is, there's something that I'm getting for free. It happens all the time. But free for me means like someone giving me discounts or literally like something for free. Here you go, just take this. Or I'm throwing this in, or you can have this because you bought whatever it is. And that just happens. So I'll give you an example. Like so a big purchase for me when I bought my Mini Cooper, the salesperson I didn't mention price at all during while I was at the dealership, not even when I was signing the contract. I did not mention price at all. And I know it sounds really odd. Why didn't you mention price? But the salesperson told me how much the car was. And he just kept taking money off it. And I thought, okay then. He ended up taking 14 grand off the sale price of the car. So I was happy with that. And then he threw in like so much stuff. Amazing. But it was going to take, because at the time I was working in banking and I needed my car for work to drive from, location to location. And he was telling me that it was going to take maybe 6 weeks for me to get this car. I'm like, well, it doesn't really work for me because I need my car for work. And like I had a hire car at the time. I'm like, I've only got that for 2 weeks, and then, I need a car. So what the dealership ended up doing was giving me one of the sales staff's car to drive until my car was ready, and my car actually took like 8 weeks to before I could go and pick it up. So I was very, very grateful that they went out of their way like that for me. And then so much free merchandise because I had to wait so long, like, the t-shirt, the mug, the umbrella, like a whole bunch of stuff, which is really lovely. So that's that belief. That's how that can play out, like with a big purchase. And then smaller purchases, like I can go to a pharmacy and there'll be like, I don't know, if you follow my Facebook page, you'll see like different stories that I put on there about free things I get. And actually, the last time I got something for free and I posted on social media was I went and bought my mum a bunch of flowers for her birthday. And the girl in the florist made me a little, like a small bunch, a posy it's called. She made me a really small bunch of flowers and put that on top of the bunch that I bought for my mum because she thought I would like them. And but that hasn't happened before, but I really like it. And yeah, so in all sorts of ways, this plays out in my life. Big purchases, small purchases, it can be a discount or it can be something for free. And I really like that belief. So I'm keeping it. I'm not going to get rid of that one. But my point is, so this is definitely like a core belief. Like I believe this wholeheartedly and I live by this. So if there's something not quite right in my world, I think, okay, like what sort of, like it's just a belief. Like what have I created here? What kind of stories have I brought into? And most of the time, you can't identify them because they're in your subconscious mind somewhere. But there are ways to let them all go, to let all of that evidence go. You can definitely get rid of that. So I would love people to be able to do this for themselves because how empowering is that? It's like you can see like drama unfolding or you don't get an outcome that you're really happy with, and you know that you've got like all these tools available and you just go, okay, so it's just a belief. I've created something here and you just take ownership of it. You go, okay, I made a mistake somewhere. I bought into something stupid and that doesn't serve me. And I'm just going to get rid of it and I'm going to replace it with something that's a lot um, better and is going to work in my favor. Like, how awesome would that be? And then you can play with like your reality in that way too and prove for yourself that your beliefs create your reality. Like, I think that's awesome. You know, I would love everyone to be able to do that. So that is something I'm teaching people to do inside the Metaphysical Edge live stream. That's on the agenda because you definitely need that. That's one of the metaphysical skills that I think are nice to know. Kind of like brushing your teeth. It's like good maintenance in some ways, good hygiene, good energetic hygiene. Get rid of things that don't serve you anymore and tidy things up and away you go, like smooth sailing. So, yeah, that's definitely in there. And let me see. Last question. If you could share one piece of advice or an insight with someone seeking to harness their own metaphysical abilities or spiritual alignment for business and success, what would it be? One piece of advice. Okay, you ready? My advice would be to treat everything as an opinion, everything you hear as an opinion. And because, right, that's how your beliefs are created. Like the minute you start buying into a story and you take it to be true, then you start collecting evidence for it at some stage. So your beliefs basically, they have a really simple framework. So to create a belief, you have an idea, right? Some sort of idea or a theory about something or an assumption. If you're familiar with the law of assumption, you can make assumptions about a whole bunch of stuff and assume that they're true. And then you start collecting evidence to back them up. And that's how, you make a belief stick. So if everything you heard, right, just imagine that it's just an opinion and it's not necessarily going to be true for you. So let me give you an example. When I was, well, like the toilet paper situation, right? Okay. I was already spoken to you about this one. So with the toilet paper and buying anything I want, even when the shelves are empty, with that particular belief, I just took that what everyone else was experiencing was their experience, and I hadn't had it, which was true. I had not experienced going to the supermarket and not being able to buy anything. I thought, well, why am I going to believe something else? Do you know what I mean? Like, that's not my experience. It's really unfortunate that that's happened to, the majority of people at the moment. And people are really struggling and they're stressed and everything else. But it's not my experience. Like, I'm not denying theirs, but I'm not going to shape mine by taking it on either. I don't want to. No thanks. So I just treat it as an opinion. I treat a lot of things as an opinion, but I like to go and try things on for myself. So like that concept of your beliefs create your reality. I'm not going to buy into it either way, that it works or it doesn't work, until I want to try things on for myself. I want to see if it is true. I want to play around with it. I want to see what it's all about. Same with epigenetics. Is epigenetics really true? And so I tested some things out, in some metaphysical type of ways. And yes, epigenetics, for me, is 100% true concept. Um, and Dr. Bruce Lipton is on the money with whatever he's talking about. So that's really interesting. I find that I can verify things like that for myself, for my own peace of mind. So, but until that happens, I treat everything as an opinion because it's their experience. And it's obviously coming from, a place where it's part of their life experience. They might have many, many examples of where things have happened for them and it's true for them, but it doesn't mean it's true for everybody, So if you have a business coach, and you obviously you hire business coaches and things for a very specific reason, because they can give you the tools, the knowledge, the insight, the support that you need to get some outcomes for yourself that they've probably gotten. You think, cool, like that, I can see they do that one thing really well and I want to know what they do. Like, I want to know what their secret sauce is to get those results for myself. So that's good, get the knowledge, but don't take the other things to be factual for you, because a lot of coaches will tell you that if you're struggling with X, Y, and Z, this is why. And that might be why it was true for them, but it's not necessarily why it's true for you. And no one can say that, definitively that this is what your problem is, because your worldview and your experiences are so different to anyone else's that there's no blanket rules for anything, I don't believe. So treat everything as an opinion. And if you think about what that would mean for your life, if you did that, from childhood, if you treated everything that your parents told you as an opinion, okay, that's what happened to them. And what would happen if, the career advice your parents gave you at some point, you just took it as an opinion rather than factual? you know, that's what I did. I just took whatever my parents said as their opinion and went and did whatever I wanted to anyway. So when I finished university and I went and got myself a full-time job, I wanted some career advice from my parents, because I didn't know what, KPIs were all about. I never had to negotiate my own salary before, like all this stuff, like was all kind of new. And I never heard my parents speak about any of that before. And the reason was, though, because my mum was a registered nurse and my dad was a tradesperson. So, like, they didn't have to worry about any of that stuff in the corporate world. They had like an award rate for everything. It was already predetermined, and they got paid what they got paid. It's not open to negotiation, whereas for me it was. So I just decided, like, as smart as my parents are, like, um, they can't help me with this, and they don't know what they're talking about. So they can't give me advice in the corporate world. And they even said that, like, I don't know what that means. I can't help you with that. So when it came time to, I decided that I wanted to go and get like a management job after being, employed in full time role for 2 years in a call center. I was a sales representative over the phone, and I was very good at it. And like, I decided I wanted management experience and I was going to go and get a job and be a manager. And I remember my mum and dad saying to me, Sharyn, you can't go and get a management job because you don't have any experience. I was like, oh, okay then. And like, love my parents, but they don't know what they're talking about. They don't work in the corporate world. So watch me. And my parents, like, said, like, have always said that I just seem to amaze them because they don't understand how I've gone from like a call center to, management roles to managing a retail store, from that going to manage the state for an advertising agency, and then going from there to go and, go into business banking at, one of the major banks in the country. Like, what is she doing? Like, what is this all about? And it comes down to that. Like, I treat what people tell me as an opinion. And I decided that I had transferable skills, that I could do that. I could take all my sales skills and my sales knowledge, and it was transferable across industries, and absolutely is. So I've never limited myself about where I can work, what industry I can work in, or what I want to achieve for myself. Some people have opinions about what's possible and what's not based on their experience, but it's not mine. So I'm kind of wired that way, I think. Like, I must be, because I did that just instinctively my whole life, which is probably like challenging for parents in some ways, I suppose. But, they still love me. So there's that's what I would really encourage you to do. Treat things as an opinion and try things on for yourself. See if things work for you. See if you have a different experience, regardless of who's telling you. Like, don't even believe what I'm telling you. Like, treat this whole podcast as an opinion, but then go and test it out for yourself so that you can see either way. Like, I'm a skeptical person, very skeptical. Like, you probably hear me talk about that a lot, about energy healing, about spirit guides, um, about the archangels, angels in general. I didn't even think that they were real. So many things I didn't believe in, even though I heard of them. I didn't think that they were true until I experienced some things for myself unexpectedly. And then, boom, okay, I can see that that's a real thing. But until then, I'm not going to make up my mind either way, to be honest. I think that's a lot better way to go, because then you have fewer obstacles to encounter. So if you buy into some sort of story that doesn't help you, doesn't help you achieve your goals or get anywhere, it's a lot harder to undo those beliefs that you put in place and put in new ones than it is just to create the ones that are going to support you from the start. So just be mindful, I suppose. Be mindful of what you decide to buy into, and be mindful of the experiences that you hear about, even like at a mass scale, like when there's toilet paper shortages. Just be really mindful about whether it's actually your experience. If has that happened to you before? What else is possible? Because it can't be the same experience for everybody, you know? So that would be my advice. Treat everything as an opinion and go and have some fun. And if you want to play with the metaphysical, and you want to have some fun and learn all this kind of stuff that I talk about, then you can come and hang out with me inside the Metaphysical Edge live stream. And every month we go into a different topic. So March, so far this month, in March, we're doing intuition. It's all about intuition. And if you listen to this later on, so if you can still get like the back catalogue for the year. So that's an option too. You can go and have a look. I'll put the link in the description. You can go and check that out. But yeah, so many cool skills, like so many things that I want to teach you how to do to make your life easier, to make your business easier, to make everything easier, because it can be, you know. So yeah, I reckon I'm done. I think I've got some really good questions for my podcast listeners, for my guests, my podcast guests. And I hope you enjoy it too, of course. So, and like this is my experience. So, other people coming on who are in this kind of metaphysical realm, who like to play and get involved in the quantum field and play with energy and all that sort of stuff, their experiences are all completely different. And if you don't relate to mine, you might be able to relate to theirs on some level. And that might be like the inspiration that you need to kind of see like your story, or you might piece together several different stories for people that come on Unmasking the Magic. And you might relate to it at such a level and get a deeper understanding of what's going on for you personally, that you have a massive breakthrough. And if you can get just that one little insight, so you have that experience for yourself, then, I think that's really wonderful. I think that's like mission accomplished for me. And I'll get the warm and fuzzies, and you need to tell me, of course. But yeah, that's nothing beats that for me, other than like that deep sense of soul satisfaction that I can help someone and inspire someone to get those outcomes for themselves. Like, I really love it. There's nothing stopping you other than yourself. So I will see you next time. I'll put any links that you might need in the description box. And thank you for joining me. Ciao. Thank you for joining me on Unmasking the Magic. Today's journey has been a glimpse into the power of blending the mystical with the material world. And there is so much more to dive into so that you can explore your own metaphysical gifts to create unparalleled success and fulfillment in your life. If you enjoyed today's episode, I would love to hear from you. And please share this with anyone you know who will benefit from adding a little magic to their own life. Keep unmasking your magic, and I'll see you next time.